This might look a little questionable, but I love how the license plate looks. And one of my favorite parts about that is my home state, Michigan. You know what else is really cool about Michigan? Is having the opportunity to shake down the 4-rotor in my home state, where it was originally my daily driver for several years, driving through the snow and everything like that. This car is coming home to Michigan. Thanks to Grid Life, thanks to Valvoline, we are taking the 4-rotor cross country for its shakedown. Now, of course, you've seen my shakedowns in this parking lot, but we all know what I mean. We're talking about the big things. This is going on a track. It's going to Gingerman, the 2nd through the 5th, something like that. And when it's not on the track, I'm gonna be in the parking lot, hard posted up, acting tough, you know, but it's gonna be in Valvoline's booth. I will guarantee talk to you guys and try and pedal my favorite alien blue VR1. Thanks to them, I'm able to go out and do this. Now, this car is capable of doing so many different things right now, all well, but we've got the new tires that we're gonna show you in this video, as well as old tires where we could roast on this video. So if I was a better driver in any form of motorsports, we could go there for drifting, because I can set this into rear-wheel drive mode or cheat and go into all-wheel drive mode, do what none of the other drifters can do. But I don't have that skill. I didn't find that skill. What we're gonna do is take it on the track. Now, we know how the 3-rotor handles, we know what to do to improve the 3-rotor. That is a fun personal challenge to make that car stronger, faster, and all that sort of stuff. But we've got a handful of things that we need to do to this car to make sure that we're being safe, letting it go 2,400 miles or so, 2,000 miles, back home. And then I think we're gonna cause a little ruckus back in Monroe. I know my neighbors are gonna absolutely hate it, because I'm bringing the car back to my house there, and we'll see the infamous blue garage. Those of you that remember that. It is time to bring it back to Monroe, back to Michigan. And I'm gonna try and set up some events, not just Grid Life, but mostly Grid Life. If you want to see the 4-rotor, you can see it at Grid Life, both driving for the first time. I guarantee you it's going to be obnoxiously loud. It's gonna be turning heads because of the flat shifting that you see. That's the point of why it's there. So I'm gonna try to have some other events, some other maybe meet and greets and whatnot while the car is not in California. Enjoy the rest of this video, but if you guys were on the fence about going to Grid Life, go. I'll see you there. It kind of popped out a little bit. Yeah, the stock axle clip locked out, and then this thing sprayed diff fluid onto the header. With this being a fixed length, like these plunge that much, we need to get this to go further here, or we need a slightly longer shaft. But what we're gonna do is fake that by putting spacers against this face here. We have plenty of spline, so the spline will still be inside of the wheel hub, but we're gonna give it about maybe 1/10 of an inch of extra leeway, and hopefully that gives all this just that little bit more room so the diff doesn't leak. I just noticed that. I felt that.
That was gonna be your leg in a couple minutes.
The door saved it.
I don't even need to shave anymore. It's just
Wow.
super hot fire. But he's not a rapper.
So we may have kind of covered this briefly in the past, and we weren't exactly sure what was going on, but you can see our brand new carbon tube is getting chewed up. And if you think the carbon tube is the worst part of it, you realize what it's hitting is actually the eccentric shaft of the motor. And impressively enough that the motor can handle that because of that, probably that front bearing that's in this front cover. But that's not the point. You're not supposed to do that. So we took the cover, the guard for this belt off, and I'm machining a new one so that way it doesn't hit when this and this get close to each other. Now what you'll see is we have the tire in a position that causes them to get closer. When you turn the tire this way, the drive shaft actually goes behind the tire. Really, yeah, both sides. Like whatever way you turn, the drive shaft goes the opposite way. And so that's how you can tell. We're beating the shit out of the car, testing it. There's still room. So I feel good that making a smaller guard will not interfere and hit this. And so you can see the same problem over here. And if anything, that's even closer. Not exactly sure what I'm gonna do there, but there's solutions. I can even take this thing and push it back further onto the shaft it's on. But right now we're gonna make a real quick piece like this. God, I love having a CNC machine because I whip this code up in about 15 minutes and we'll see if it's actually good code or not. So here's the old one, beefy, 0.2 inches thick. This material is thinner, slightly, it's 1/8 of an inch, so 0.125. And then we're also making it much smaller because that was hitting on this edge right here. So we'll see if we can keep the belt behaving. This is a good sign. It cut it to where you can see the pieces underneath nice and easily. Just perfect. So I left those 3 notches in there. God, it smells like balls. Joel can confirm this is not a pleasant smell inside of here. So I cut it very differently, and I'll tell you what, anybody that's not familiar with machining or even any videos on my channel, just in general, the hardest thing I think about making stuff like this, especially quickly, is holding it to the table. It is like an art all unto itself. Like CAD is like a third of the actual adventure. Cam is the other majority, and then just trying to hold it flat and making jigs and finding ways so it won't vibrate, that's all another part of the adventure. And so all I have to do now is just cut these little notches there, there, and there. Okay, so I left a little bit of meat on them, but that should be pretty easy to contour. That turned out really, really well. I'm very happy with this. Now, the sharp-eyed guys are going to know that this side has not been machined, and in theory, that means that this thing could be slightly off from this side because, well, that's just the nature of your fixtures and work holders. And again, another reason why holding it is such a hard part of this job. So there you go. There's before and after. It looks the same when you're looking at the motor as a whole, but quite a bit different. Now we're going to go ahead and test fit this. Oh, there we go. Nice and clean bolt fitting. And it has a washer behind here just to space. Joel pointed out that this is, in fact, aluminum. I machined it out of aluminum instead of steel. And that would mean that we have less rotational mass, I guess is one way to look at it. Already very happy with the height and size.
Definitely more room.
Way more room. Now, I can't tighten this too hard because that's gonna start bowing it outward. So there you go. There's the view, and that's the car at full lock, and I'm sure bouncing around and everything. But with the thinner material, the drive shaft's not gonna bounce up into it. It has plenty more travel. It's another hot one. It's like 7 inches from the midday sun. You don't even know what song that is, do you?
You've said this before.
Yeah, well, I'm losing my shit because it's another hot one. It's about 7 inches from the So this isn't my finest work, but this is work nonetheless. And this is kind of the tail end of the car. So this is the stuff that didn't make it into the main harness that was kind of like a bonus, and it didn't. And that's okay. This was meant to be an optional thing. And so all these pins are very big, which means they're all power pins. And we are going to allow the car to have 1 power window, 2 power windows with the controls. This one's bigger because this one controls the whole thing. And then 1 brushless fan and 2 brushless fans. And so all of this is the spare power that was potentially going to be for electric power steering, but thankfully we don't need that at all. And so that allows us to run all of this. So we'll have fans on here and there, as well as both windows working from the controls from the stock car. Joel put it this way: these are all about cooling. It's stuck in my head. It's stuck in my head. It's annoying. You know, with the windows, that makes this not just only fans. You saw that whole lasso of wire. It's all hidden beautifully to the point where, there we go, there's the up and down motors, which is funny because they've reversed polarity. So you only need 2 wires to tell the motors to go up and down. This is actually integrated into the stock door squeegee bendy straw thing, so that way you can slam the door and it doesn't hurt my wiring. Both doors now have the wires to them, with both of them going to each of the doors. This goes to the main switch. Oop. This one goes to this other door. So this switch controls, as you saw earlier, both doors and powers everything from there. So that's all done. And of course the doors, you just gotta finesse and do that. But the more important thing is I also ran the fans, spare fan power. So you can see the tail end of it right here. And that little blue wire is that PWM signal. So that way I can make the fans do just like this fan and slowly start up and whatnot. I can make them actually just on off as well if shit hits the fan. I did not mean that. But yeah, if shit hits the fan, we can make them soft start and stop. But I would prefer to be able to have all 3 fans in the front come on and chill and not just go wild for no reason. But when it comes time for grid life, these 2 might just get brushed fans that just pull air get that done. So all that's on technically the same circuit because that was all one circuit meant for something more powerful, which we're not going to use, yet more hidden. And now we're going to have, after a couple minutes of work on each door, you know, the boring stuff, crimping and all that, both windows up and down, left, right, whatever we want to do. So that more and more like a stock car. This is super exciting. I was not expecting this. That's amazing.
It's a clean truck.
The van looks nicer than the RX-8. We were just saying that the wrapper on this van's sick.
Yeah, you got it back last week, I want to believe.
Oh wow, this is
You got a lot.
a van of happiness. This is badass.
It looks light.
It is. See what we need the.
Yeah, I see it.
It was launching against the unicorn, so the fronts are fine, but the rears both slipped. And we weren't even at super low. We were like 18 psi.
No,
so
but that's still pretty crazy though to move that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saw with our other set over there, we couldn't even lower the tire pressure to the ideal amount of pressure for maximum traction. So that's where these two come into play. I've been a huge supporter of Forge Star, Weld, CCW, all of the above, long before I knew that they were all part of parent companies. And all the other tires on the 3-rotor, the 4-rotor, those have all been tires that I wanted. And so I, whoa, okay, I was not expecting that. That illustrates the 100% point of the bead lock is not these specific spots, but the whole ring is closing down on the bead, holding it and preventing it from slipping. And yeah, you don't even, look at this, you don't even really need to tighten them that much. That's not the goal. I mean, it's still rubber that it's clamping down on, but wow. Super light too, so that answers two of my questions already. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, that is so cool. Way better than the job I did on my other set. Oh, they're even more clean. Oh, that is clean. That is beautiful mixed with this.
That's badass.
Oh yeah, yeah, that is so clean. That is the new rear tire. Now check this out. This is what it looks like. Of course, I'm setting up an edge, but what you're pinching is this set of the rubber right here, locking the bead in, and looking really clean at the same time. Look at how light these wheels are for how big that is and how much they're supposed to take on. Oh, look at! I just noticed this too. Look at, there's more surface area, more edge, peaks and valleys to prevent the rubber from slipping as well. So you're basically pressing down on this on the inside too. That's very impressive. So this was my CNC solution to the same problem, and that is not nearly as nice. Over time, it slowly goes flat. Now these haven't been on the car in a couple months, so it's kind of expected, but at least I was consistent with the CNC machine, but I kind of wish I had the proper solution first. The trick to the 4-rotor is that it should match up with a C6, C5, because we use a lot of the same parts. So let's see if that's possible.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I think it might hit in the back,
It's not hitting.
Looks really close.
Close. Yeah, it's definitely close. You guys can see that it'll go in.
Oh, wow.
It's literally a Corvette tire. That's what's wild, and it's really wild because when I was originally building the car, I didn't know what the offset was, and I did all the reverse engineering, and then come to find out, we were messing around with the C5 one day, and we're like, well, let's see if those tires fit on here, and they fit perfectly. Those with the correct offset. I'm like, it was always a Corvette tire, and I never knew it. Today has been an amazing day thanks to Weld, and M&W is really the parent company, but all the brands underneath it are so awesome. So that gives us a perfect table to unbox the next thing. So as you guys know, I am a huge supporter of Spall. They're OEM, but also they have aftermarket stuff. And the only thing that I don't like about Spall, and anybody guys, if you're watching from Spall, you know this, I've said this to you in person, they make it very hard for you to buy their products brushless. Brushless Spall fans are very difficult because they have like 3 distributors that try and bundle it with their own weird stuff. Personal opinion, I wish that you could just buy this. Well, we found out that Kartek actually sells you just this. So Kartek, which is actually here near us in Corona. You can buy it online. You can buy just the brushless fan.
Oh,
there we go.
Perfect.
Yeah, that is a unit. That is beefcake status, big beefy unit. And so this isn't the main fan for the 4-rotor because we already have a small brushless fan built into the C7 shroud, but this is the second radiator's fan.
That looks like it's gonna fit nice.
Yeah, it's gonna fit real nice. Yeah. Not that this is the best example, but it's also a small product. This is much cheaper, but brushed fans only have 2 wires, and so they have the whole magnets. If you guys were to tear it apart, if you're like me, like a kid, tear stuff apart, especially electric motors, you'll note there's brushes, which there's things that actually touch the magnetic core of the motor, and there's power loss and there's inefficiency. So a brushed fan actually has a controller built in, and just like our fuel pumps are all brushless technically, that's the reason that you can pulse them. So pulsing is these other wires, which really, we don't need both of them, we only need one of them. And so what happens is that pulsing tells the controller 0 to 100%. We got soft starting, so this fan uses up to 32 amps. Well, you don't want instant 32 amp draw on 2 fans on each side of that car. That's 60 some amps plus the main fan. Your whole car would just like go. You'd see the stock market crash of your power. That'd be horrible, and it'd be really hard on your alternator briefly. So these soft start, they have all the functionality that we want. We can run them at lower speeds, higher speeds, whatever we want to do. I am actually wearing glasses because you know what I'm about to do, and it's something dumb with the fan. I'm also going to strap it into the chassis because fans, even with the soft start and everything, the momentum and the airflow is incredible. But I just realized as it uses the same connector as the other fan. And just see apples to apples between the big fan that's 600 watts at full tilt to this fan, and we'll see what difference, if any, sound-wise, airflow-wise. Car turned off. Thankfully we have the same connectors here. We're gonna go ahead and plug this one in. Before I was getting too crazy, Joel asked me a really simple question: why don't we zip tie it to the thing we have now? I don't think I have the zip ties to do that. I have the really nice zip ties right now for connecting these flat to this, but we'll use these zip ties in place of it.
That's just a drop.
That's insane.
That's badass.
That's sick. It's a little bit quieter. It's a little bit. But this car means business, and all 3 of those will turn on at once. So as you can see, we are diving deeper into the rabbit hole, and you know what the coolest part about complex, wild things like this is? If you do it right, the more complex you get, the simpler it gets. So let's look at this simple end result. Got all this working to act like an OEM car. I've got a whole circuit, and actually this should, there we go. I have it all working, like as if it's stock, but there's not a single bit of stock other than this little button that kind of looks reminiscent. It's the original buttons. And then I've even got the hazards working, at least in the rear. Go check this out. Might be like, well, those are all really easy things, and they kind of are, but it's all going through one major central system that is all not part of the Mazda RX-7. What's really cool is this button, it comes from Haltech. It goes to the Haltech ECU, so it all is connecting there, but then it sends it over to the ECU Master's dash and to the ECU Master's power module, and then those handle all the lights. And so those also handle the circuit for doing this. And again, this is all working seamlessly together. So I can use different companies' products and they all work together happily. So this car is just getting more and more solid, but it's also more and more OEM. We have all these working, headlights, windows. The only thing I don't have working yet is the sunroof. A couple more minutes later, and I've got a whole new thing to show you guys. I've got this dash figured out even more. One, I was able to dim the screen, so it looks a little bit darker now because it's darker outside. 2 is I made conditions. All my temperatures are out, and pressures are out of range. That's boost, so it doesn't matter. Even the battery voltage, if it's under 12 volts, these will all turn white when they're ready to go. And then I have an error if I lose oil pressure, massive error. But that's not the coolest part to me. So the coolest part here is if I turn this.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's sick.
And so then, of course, as you'd expect, it's the opposite. And then if I turn on the running lights, I get this. And if I turn on the headlights,
That's sick.
I get that. And then when I go and press my hazards, psych, that's this one, I see both of them blinking. So that way, like a stock car, I know all of those things are working. That's all different systems, and it works really well. I'm geeking out about this. Vibrant, you are our only hope. Now, as many of you know, we went and got just about everything Vibrant has to offer, but we didn't do this. And I bought this off of Summit right now because this is our only chance at making this right. So Vibrant actually makes a pretty stubby but wide air filter. And even if I have to get creative and cut sections off of it and JB weld it, I'm hoping it work.
It looks like it might.
Oh, this is so close.
Oh.
Oh, Vibrant, I love you so much. Oh my God, look at that. Check that angle out from right up there.
That's badass.
Hell yeah. Clearly it's gonna affect airflow a little bit. You know, it's gonna create more negative pressure at the front of the turbo, but we have like a couple thousand horsepower, so not really an issue there. What I do want this in here for is clearly obvious. This thing's kicking up tons of dust. It's gonna rip the gravel apart. We're going in circles. I do not want this turbo and consequently the engine taking on tons of dirt. So in the search for the ideal side fan, we've come up with a lot of interesting solutions. First of all, this fan, the ABL321P, this fan is insane. As you saw earlier, this fan is pulling up to 35 amps. It's a monster. It really, when it's supposed to be an NPC, it's the main character. It really thinks that it is the star of the show, uses all the power it can, and moves a crap ton of air. But that wasn't what I wanted. I do want this, don't get me wrong, but I didn't wire it for that. I wired it for the smaller fans that Spall has. Now, I came up with another solution. This is made by a company called Steel, or at least Final Assembly by Steel. I don't know who makes them. This is an interesting approach. These are the same exact price. I'll be honest, if you're gonna look at buying one, buy this one. For whatever you're gonna buy it for, you're $300 in for either of these, might as well buy that one. This one, though, shows a lot of promise as what it's supposed to be. So this is also brushless. It's only got 2 wires, but it has 3 wires going into this sleeve. That's because this little signal wire gets shorted to positive. I assume that this is either A, it's a PWM signal, so you could pulse this, or B, it's just a voltage regulated. 0 means 0 and 12 means go all out. This at max is rated for about 14 amps, which is what the wiring is rated for, because I'm using 16 gauge wire, so I don't want to go really much higher than that. So I would use these, but the problem is if you go to 100%, you're going to just catch the car on fire. With these, a couple major problems exist. The fan comes assembled with the center of it sticking out the furthest, and so look at that is the fan hitting whatever surface. So if you were going to take this over to a radiator and say you're, like in my case, even this car occasionally hits the budget build sort of status, you put it against here, it's going to grind as soon as it fires up, and you have all this air gap. So what I was originally going to do was going to make like a shroud, which that would solve that problem immediately. But then the other thing I noticed is that the fan's not fully sitting in the fan shroud. And so I thought to myself, well, what else could we do? I took a bunch of M6 washers. Each M6 washer is maybe about 50 thousandths. So 2 of them makes a tenth of an inch and 4 of them makes 0.2 inches. And so I shimmed this.
Whoa.
I shimmed the whole assembly to give me the clearance I was looking for. And they fit right in the grooves and everything. It's like a solid way of doing it. I did it on all 4 bolts. And so now the fan blade isn't anywhere near touching that. It's in this line here. So the fan's in the right spot. And of course, it's flat to this. So let me show you, compared to the other one, let me show you just how many amps these pull. And move it centered to right there. So you're seeing what, 6 amps right there? 6.3. I pulled away. Oh, it moved more.
That feels good.
Yeah, it does. Now this is trying to be a main fan. I'm pretty happy with that. Now the important part is I'm trying to use it on a very thick core when in fact it's going to be sitting on a very thin core. So I feel really good that, okay, we're going to 6 to 7 amps, which is well within the wiring plan. These fans actually might solve this problem perfectly. And these fans have that soft start mode, which all brushless technically do. So I don't have that surge to my car as soon as fans start coming on. This is perfect for that sort of setup, but with it being the same price as this one, I would rather run the thicker wire and have all holy hell break loose when this thing fires up. So what I think we're going to be doing with these, I was given a hint that these are actually used on Koenigsegg's. All the Koenigsegg's use these, so you know you're doing some good stuff. If Koenigsegg uses Pro Wire and these, we're onto something. So I think that this is going to replace the 2 fans on the 3-rotor, because those are not brushless. So we'll do these 2 plus Spall's controller, so that way it turns these to pulsing, you know, its own thermostat basically. Because the Fuel Tech already has 1 pulsing thing, it can't do 2 pulsing things because it's got the the water pump working already. So these fans kind of have to work on off. But Spall has all the solutions for that. So these, like I said, these are amazing. Look at this, guys. This is a dream come true. A beautiful combination of wheel and tire. We've got the Toyo Tire Proxies RR. So a 40 treadwear tire that we've just used on the 3-rotor. It's a very sticky tire, and it's going to work very well because we've got a lot of power. But these wheels, as you may have seen before, I have the 4-stars. I bought these last year for the 4-rotor to race against the Unicorn, and they are such a solid, lightweight wheel. We have a standard size and set now, so we can just keep swapping through them as we roast tires. This couldn't be better. Now, the car is designed for wider rear tires, but we can run all 4 of the same tire, front to rear, and actually have the whole suspension meant for that. So taking it out to the track, this is like kind of the dream team for setting that up right now.